Hey, so we filmed most of this before some drama happened with my Reddit bot. Stick around to the end for all the details, but let's start from the beginning. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton and this is Design, Build, Make. So if you found this video through a link from my Reddit bot, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to know if it helped you out or not. Otherwise, let me give you a little background on what this project is about. So on Reddit, there are these two subreddits called Tip of My Tongue and What's the Word. And on these subreddits, people post vague descriptions of something that they're trying to remember the name of, but that they just can't remember. And my idea was to build a Reddit bot that would use AI to try to answer their questions for them. Now, bots on Reddit tend to have a little bit of a bad rep, and that's because a lot of times they're kind of spammy, they're not very smart. So my main goal for this bot was to be able to answer people's questions at a meaningful rate without having a bunch of dumb or useless answers to the point that people wouldn't want the bot on the subreddit anymore. In fact, even though I named the bot TipOfMyBot, I wanted the majority of people who interacted with it to not even really realize that it was a bot. So how these subreddits work is that the OP posts a question explaining the thing that is on the tip of their tongue. And then all the top level comments are just people guessing the name of that thing. For each of these, OP is supposed to respond with either solved, which means you got it right, or some explanation or reason about why yours isn't quite right. So my idea is that the backbone of this Reddit bot would be something called ChatGPT, which is this really powerful AI model recently released by OpenAI. And so I started by just copying and pasting some of these questions into ChatGPT to see how it would do. But just naively passing the questions into ChatGPT doesn't always work. One of the first kind of humorous examples I saw was this question on Tip of My Tongue, which asks for a phrase when you blow your nose in the shower using your hands only. And now I don't know what the answer for this one is, but when we asked ChatGPT, it said very confidently, shower honking, which sounds like it could be real. But as far as I can tell, that doesn't exist. That's not a real phrase. It's not out there on the internet anywhere. That's just made up. And this became a common theme. So I actually tried a lot of different things to get the model working better. My main idea was that I don't need to answer every single question. So if I could just detect the times where the answer is really bad, I can just ignore those posts. So the most embarrassing ones were when we would just propose a word that did not exist, like shower honking. And so to fix that, we actually used Google Trends. So we would make a call to Google Trends to say, how much search traffic does this word or phrase get? And if that value was too low, that told us that this thing probably doesn't really exist and that we should just back off. We also made some small tweaks for specific failure types that we saw. For instance, sometimes the model would repeat a word that OP had mentioned in their post, and that was never right, so we would just skip any of those. Also, it really struggled when the original post was extremely long, so we had some filters around that. With all of this, we actually got to the point where our guesses were usually at least reasonable. At this point, I was still manually copying and pasting each post to test it. And what I really needed was a Reddit bot that would look for the new posts, grab the content, run my code against it, and only reply when it was confident. And so I decided to call in a little bit of help to get that going. So there are only about 30 posts a day or so that our bot would actually reply to. And I got kind of tired of just refreshing the page over and over again, waiting for one to go by. So we added a little bing that would go off every time we made a post. It was super fun. So let's talk a little bit about how well our bot works. So it's been about 24 hours since we first turned it on, and we've replied to 21 questions. On 8 of them, we've actually gotten what OP was looking for. On 2 of them, we've managed to give an answer that really does not make any sense and kind of embarrassed ourselves. And on the other 11, we didn't get exactly what OP was looking for, but we often got several upvotes, the answers made sense, nobody really noticed that we were just a dumb bot, everything just kind of worked. And that's actually pretty common because a lot of these questions are pretty ambiguous. And so there's not just a single answer, there are quite a few reasonable answers that could be right. So the fact that only 2 out of the 21 replies have been really bad, I'm pretty happy about. So here's one of my favorite examples from the bot. What's the word for formal clothing store that sells bow ties, for example? My friend told me abaxery or haberdashery, but I don't know how to spell it. And the bot guesses haberdashery, which is a word I didn't even know existed. So our most embarrassing one is really bad. The post says, what's the phrase for having a dissatisfactory encounter or experience with something? For example, I have had my ... with traditions when I was in middle school. And somehow the model decided to reply, fill in the blank, which is not at all what they're asking for. But because we always add a question mark at the end, OP thought we were asking whether or not we should fill in the blank, like maybe we've never been on this subreddit before. And they just said, yes, but feel free to offer your own favorites too. This is one of the only posts that really made me feel, what's that word when you're kind of ashamed of what you've made?
Embarrassed.
Yes, embarrassed. Thank you. So given how well it did in the first 24 hours, my plan is to keep it running and see how many of these we can answer correctly and how long it takes the community to notice and whether or not they like it or even care at all.
2 days later.
That was supposed to be the end of this video. I was planning to take the whole video and put it in each reply from the bot so that people could come and watch how this thing worked. But after running for another day or two pretty well, one user started replying to every single one of the bot's comments with either good bot or bad bot. This is common practice to give bots feedback, but it's the first time that anyone had even noticed that this was a bot, or at least acknowledged that fact. And so I started to get a little worried. And that was for good reason. A few hours later, that same user posted this. Meta, can we get a referendum on whether bots should be allowed? The last one was annoying, spamming a bunch of words that could have been useful but put absolutely no thought into them. The current one seems hit or miss, but it's definitely better than the last one. I will take that as a compliment. I've seen it miss context cues, but other Redditors do that too. What do you think? When I saw this, I freaked out. I was like, oh no, the gig is up. I was actually kind of happy that they admitted that the bot was working well, but it was clear that their sentiment was not very pro-bot. And the best part is, I hadn't put any special logic into the bot to avoid meta posts, so it actually replied to this, and the word that it guessed was poll. Because we add a question mark at the end of each of our guesses, it kind of looks like the bot is asking for a poll because it doesn't agree with the OP that the bot should be banned. So it really looks like the bot is kind of begging for its life. I'm not going to read the whole thread. I linked it down below if you want to take a look. But the TLDR is that people actually were pretty impressed with the bot, so much so that they said it ruined the fun. We were coming in and answering the questions so quickly that they didn't get to give it a try, and that made it less fun for them to be on there. And now this might sound like a good thing, right? Why wait for a human to answer something like an hour later if the bot could do it in 10 seconds? But they made a valid point, and that was that the bot can't answer every question, and that if it's not fun for the people who are guessing because the bot answers so many of them, they're just not even going to go to the subreddit, and the whole ecosystem will kind of collapse. And this wasn't really something I'd considered at the beginning. I was just wanting to see if I could answer some of these and help people out. But the final consensus was, you know what, it would be better to go ahead and turn this thing off for now. So after running for about 3 days, I finally shut off the bot. There's a chance we'll bring it back with a delay, so it waits for other posters to give it a guess, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. But honestly, one of the places that this bot excelled most at was some of the easier questions that it could get really quickly and help someone much faster than anybody else. So I'm not really sure how many it'll get if it has to wait 30 minutes first. So this might be the end of this bot. Although, you never know. I have a few ideas how we might be able to improve it. All in all, I'm actually pretty happy with the outcome. I was really afraid of getting banned because the bot was too crappy and it was just annoying. And I never in my wildest dreams thought I would get asked to turn it off because it was too good. So I'm going to count that as a win. If you have any ideas about how I could improve the bot or what I should try next, let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.